you know me already. Those of you who don't, are in for a great big fucking surprise. Those
We talk to the legends of the creative and entertainment industries. We talk to those on the rise. Steen Anthony Nielsen asks about the highs, the lows, and everything in between. This is Outcast Creative, and this is Industry Interviews.
Hello and welcome to Industry Interview 137. God damn, that seems like a huge number that I've done. Right, I don't normally do these at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I have done them at 4 o'clock in the afternoon before because, as you know, my guests come from all over the world. They're often on different time frames, different hours of the day. And, of course, I work around my guests' availability. So when they are available, that's when I get them on. Now, if you watch my regular film and television review show, you will know that we often sort of look out for films that we think look quite interesting or might be quite good. And sometimes we watch a movie trailer or two and discuss them. And last Tuesday, I think probably about half an hour into the show, we watched the trailer for Thieves Highway, a new film coming out with Aaron Eckhart, who's actually one of my favourite actors. Incidentally, I followed his career for a really, really long time. He's done some very interesting indie films as well as the kind of the bigger stuff, where he's been in X-Men and things like that. So I'm always very interested to see because he always picks very good scripts. It's one of the things I really noticed about this actor. He always picks good scripts. So as soon as I saw him on the poster for this, I said to my team, hey, guys, we're going to watch a trailer. And I literally had just seen the poster just before we went live. So we put the trailer on and we came off and it's a sort of Yellowstone meets Die Hard with cattle. We came off the trailer and I said to my panel, I don't know about you guys, but I'm all in for this movie. I'm definitely going to watch this. And my panel of 5 other guests universally agreed this is a film, Thieves Highway, that we all want to see. Now, it's going to be out pretty soon. It drops in America next week. Now, as it happens, and I didn't know this when we watched the trailer, the director of it is a good friend of mine who's an actor slash stuntman, sort of started out his career more of a stuntman, then went into second unit directing like a lot of stuntmen do, and eventually directing, and now is also writing his own screenplays. So I'm going to welcome to the Outcast Creative, Jesse V. Johnson. Great to have you here. Thanks very much.
Great to be here.
I know you're in California right now. Is that right?
Yeah, I am. Los Angeles.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, before I throw all kinds of questions at you about Thieves Highway, and we're going to talk about your career as well a little bit, because you've directed no less than 20 films now, 20 feature films, most of them very action orientated, right up my street. I've got to ask you my standard questions that I ask all my guests. Can you tell me what the first movie you remember seeing on the big screen as a kid?
On the big screen, we didn't get out of very, very dirt poor family, so didn't get single mum actually didn't get to see the theatre. But I remember the first film that really had a cute sort of a really profound effect on me, which was The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And I think it was a time sequence going into the that wonderful Ennio Morricone score and into these incredible close-ups, which a lot of 2000 AD and Judge Dredd and these kind of things. But you saw punched in close-ups, to incredible sort of sketches, and it was the first time that I saw framing that really reminded me of a very, very well laid out comic in terms, and that's in the most sort of complimentary terms imaginable. It was something that really appealed to my mind as a graphic medium taken and made into a moving medium, and the music was just something altogether that I felt I had discovered and was mine, and no one else knew about. My parents, who liked art and that sort of thing, hated the music. They thought it was very loud. But for me, it was something really, really special. And I think as a young person, when you find that movie that you love and your parents don't like, you found something that's special and you hold it. So for me, I think The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was something that very, very much stuck with me, and the violence was something that everyone hated at the time. Seems to be tame now with the awful red poster paint blood that they used back then, and no squibs and people falling over with grimacing, terrible makeup. But you watch it and it's wonderful. I have an original poster in the other room, in the kitchen, just there, purposely to remind me of, but purposely to remind me of that beginning. And I think it's very important you surround yourself with memorabilia or whatever it is of the very films that gave you that spark, when you first started out, because you can get lost along the way, you can get confused and get caught up in trying to money the bills and all those kind of really sort of boring reasons to work, when the truth of the matter is we're this magical medium that motivates young people and fills them and gives them somewhere to escape to. And you get letters that remind you once in a while we're really doing something quite special here. It's rather good.
Well, the second question would be, what is the last film that you saw on the big screen that you paid for a ticket to go and see?
Because we get the DGA screeners, which is the guild that I'm a part of, so I've been watching like a crazy amount of movies through that. Big screen TV in the other room, but the last one I actually paid to go see was Sinners, which I thought was extraordinary, really, really well done. And how movies should be. They should entertain you. They shouldn't point you at someone whose life is more wretched and decrepit and depraved than yours and call it entertainment, which what most of the DGA screeners have been. Honestly, if they were around when I was 14, 13, 12 years old, I probably would have gone into a different career.
Sinners is a great movie, probably one of the strongest films of 2025.
I loved it. I thought it was really fab. Superman, the James Gunn one. There's movies I find that are exciting. They take me away. They put me in another world, and for 90 minutes you don't know where you are. The last one I truly loved though was probably Thunder Road. I sat next to a woman who was eating popcorn and drinking, and I was, oh God, this is going to be one of those experiences where the whole film is ruined by this person making this noise eating. And she did make a lot of noise, but thankfully the movie just wiped out everything other than what was going on the screen in front of you. And it was one of the most wonderful cinematic experiences, in a long time. The last one, less so. I was less taken away by that. But it's making movies is a gamble. It's a crapshoot. You're never really 100% sure what you're going to come up with. It's disagree to an extent with that whole new wave thing about the auteur theory. It's very, very tough making a movie. You need a group of people around, and it's like waging war. The outcome.
You're preaching to the converted on that front. Trust me.
Yeah. The outcome is anything but sure. That's why there's when you're trying to raise financing for these films, it's always about which actors you have. That's the only form of insurance that these poor these distributors get. You're saying no, it's based on the script. It's going to be my action. It's where we're shooting it. They're like, well, just who's in it? Let's just start with that, because that's literally the only insurance you have. And the truth of the matter is, it's if you study movies, you can find the greatest of directors who've turned out these films that you just like, what on earth went on there? And you realize there are battles behind the scenes, as you and I both do. We read copious amounts of sort of film histories, and you realize what a struggle it is to make a good movie, what an incredible intense kind of personality it takes to get kind of personal vision onto the screen. And luck, an enormous amount of luck.
Have you got a favorite action movie that you can whack on any given Sunday afternoon to kind of like chill out to?
To be honest, I don't watch a vast amount of action movies.
It doesn't have to be an action film. It could be any film, but it could even be a guilty pleasure. But have you got a go-to, like, oh, I'll watch that today? It might be something that you might watch every year at least once.
Well, that's different. That would be The Searchers. John Ford.
Yeah,
which
I got the Blu-ray.
I have Final Shot tattooed on the back of my arm, which is.
Oh my God! Look at that! Hang on. Keep that there. Let me see if I can get you bigger for that for a moment. Oh God, how do I do that? Oh yeah, there we go. Good God, look at that.
So that's the last shot of The Searchers, which for me is one of the most poetic, profound, and powerful endings of any movie ever.
Yeah.
And it's a testament to what a film can be. At 14, 15, 16, you watch The Searchers. It's a cool action movie with some great shootouts and some good chasing and horse galloping and some raw, antagonism and nastiness and, determination. You watch it as a 20-year-old, you're starting to fund the sort of poetry involved in it. You watch it as a parent, and you start to cry because you realize, the story actually, the loss of this young, this child, this family have lost it, and how age affects all of us, and the determination, sadness that goes with that. And you watch it as a 50-year-old man, and you're like, oh my God, there's another layer to this film, which is where are you at that age, and what if you haven't got the family and the life that you hope you had, and it's all gone now, and you realize you're too old to ever have that. It's an incredibly powerful movie on so many levels, and if you want to sort of remind yourself ever that there is more to filmmaking, but everything to filmmaking is entertainment, but there's more to that, and it's our obligation as filmmakers put as much of that in as possible. You return to a picture like The Searchers, or for that matter, anything by John Ford.
Yeah.
Or Akira Kurosawa, who also had that incredible ability to layer, an action film with onion layers of meaning and power. Seven Samurai has about so much more than seven wandering samurai protecting a small village. There's a multitude of things going on there that talk of the human condition and the struggle we all have with our own demons and consciences.
Let's go back to the beginnings of your career. You started out working in stunts. How did you get drawn into that?
My first paying gig was storyboarding for my uncle, who is a stunt coordinator. Was a stunt coordinator. Is now a second year director.
Who was your uncle? Sorry.
Vic Armstrong.
Oh my God, Vic Armstrong's your uncle. I have a signed copy of his autobiography in the other room.
He's unbelievably good, extraordinarily lucky. At the time, as I was coming in, so I would have been, I think I was 14 or 15. I drew storyboards for the second unit that he ever directed, which was a TV miniseries called Hold the Dream. Barbara Taylor Bradford, or one of those, and he had to do a car crash and some other stuff, directing second unit and there's Deborah Carr was involved in it. So I got to see Deborah Carr on film, which touches me to a completely different era of filmmaking, 1940s and 50s. So I storyboarded for him, and he told me a little bit about where to put the camera, rostrum shots. He was also learning as well. He had learned from Mickey Moore, who was his sort of mentor, who had worked with William Wyler, and so Vic has a direct connection with the studio era of filmmaking and this incredible kind of wealth of knowledge. So it was a wonderful place to sort of way to get started. I'm extraordinarily lucky. My mum used to bug him like crazy. Please take Jesse along. Please just take him along. Have him just hanging out there watching what's going on. So I was there, there watching him grow and learn. And he's extraordinary. He's very, very good. And he's in his 70s now, but never repeats anything and makes it a personal quest, never to repeat a stunt or an angle or something that worked, and is always pushing in a way that an extraordinarily gifted artist would do. And he's really just a inspiration. Absolutely. The the very, very best, and a gentleman and a gentle man, not just a gentleman, but a gentle soul who looks to help people, looks to help the small person who's struggling, who's not having a good time, who's trying to figure out what's going on. He'll take them under his wing and say, come and sit next to me and watch the monitor for a little bit, tell you what's going on. And I've seen him do it so many times and help so many careers get started.
Yeah.
Really something else altogether. So I was very lucky to watch him. And I'm going to turn the heat on. It's getting really cold there.
No, please do. I didn't realise it ever got cold in California. It's absolutely.
It's winter. So it gets cold at night, and then it gets warm during the day. I
can tell you in London, it's absolutely dogs gonads freezing at the minute. I have also just turned the heating on. I mean, I can absolutely 100% verify everything you say about Vic Armstrong, because I can't remember if it was before or after I met him at the book signing, but it was around that time that we were trying to get the Pegasus Bridge movie off the ground. And of course, I found out he'd worked on Bridge Too Far, and I was very keen to find out how they choreographed the vehicle attack over the bridge and how it was all first rehearsed in a car park and all this kind of thing. And my late friend, Alan Tompkins, was also on that shoot. He was the first camera operator. He was he worked on in the art department under the production designer on that shoot. But the first camera operator, who was the director of Rambo 3, has also been on this channel.
Peter McDonald.
Thank you, Peter McDonald. So I've spoken to 3 people that all worked on that sequence. Vic was very patient with my never-ending deluge of questions about it. And I've also got a massive model of Arnhem Bridge, a huge one, 1/32 scale. So I sent him all the pictures I had of that and things like that. But yeah, I've got a signed copy of his book. I went to Forbidden Planet to get that signed when he was there. But yeah, very nice,
wonderful, and the book is very, very good. I recommend it to everyone.
Yeah, it's a fun read. I think his sons have gone into direction as well.
Bruce and Scott. Yeah, I think the biggest difference is, there was a time when we had a system of learning on the job, apprenticing, and that it was encouraged, and that was how people got better. You can't do that anymore. You can't train people. You train people, they simply take your job, and everyone holds on to the information they have and works as an island and gets out and has to be very secretive, and it's just a different industry. The industry is very different, but he was a part of a time when there was, it was sharing, and there was freedom of trying to make films better, trying to advance the art, the science, the technology. It's different now. It's just you have to work very, very secretively, and techniques are, if there's anything slightly revolutionary, you have to keep it to yourself. It's just a different era, and I love that. I'm very, very fortunate that I had that opportunity and have that opportunity to throw ideas backwards and forwards with him and sort of chat about things and figure things out. So that very much in the early days, and of course, like all teenagers, I decided I didn't want to be a stuntman because that would be the easy route, and decided to go into assistant directing, which I thought would be closer to directing. It sounded like it would be closer to directing. As we all know, assistant directing is a misnomer. You're actually an assistant producer when you become an AD. It's not at all about directing in any shape or form, with the very, very small caveat that you may, at the very lowest rung of the assistant directing job, third D, as they call it in the UK, or over here, second, you may get to direct a little bit of background action, but again, it's limited, and that is as much as you'll get to do that has anything to do with directing at all. So I did that for a few years and realized that it was not a path to becoming a director. I did a few films in the UK. Nightbreed was one of them, which has become a little bit of a cult film. Which is good because I worked with Randall Kleiser on there, who directed Grease and Blue Lagoon. I got to watch him work, and then I started the shift to the US, and I worked on. I got a reputation for being able to do films with large numbers of background. the Birdcage, where we had all of the dancers, to Modern Combat with all the martial artists, How to American Quilt with all the school kids, Mr. Holland's Opus, we had 600, 400 background at. Shawshank Redemption, we had one day on that with 2,500 extras, and I was dressed as a prisoner with the radio inside. I got very, very good at working sausage maker, which is where you have the extra come in the morning. You make sure you get them through makeup, hair, wardrobe, breakfast, and out the other end as quickly as possible. And this becomes a very technical sort of skill, watching the schedule. And we were having hundreds of extra through this machine and come out the other end ready to get on set as quickly as possible, because you want to get filming as fast as possible. You can run into this awful scenario when you have a large extra day of not actually having all of the extras ready until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you've just cost the production hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the efficiency of getting everyone onto set as quick as possible, and then laying them out, making sure they don't look like they're standing staring at the camera, but are actually having these little miniature dramas and stories going on in the background, and that you can match it for every single take all the way through to the close-up. So that same guy with the bald head passes that way, he's eating the sandwich, the other guy comes the other way. For the next 4 hours, they're doing the same background action on this piece of dialogue, and it becomes really, really sort of quite a useful skill it can take with you to directing. How useful, I'm not sure, really, because now I love it when I get off to a good first AD and let them take care of it, because it reminds me, I get PTSD. But it's sort of an interesting thing to understand, so that when you have these big days, you can make sure you lay your work out or your shot list out so sort of as efficient. But I got this reputation doing that, so I did that for quite some time, and then realized that I was a fool for not going into stunts, which was probably pays about 4 times as much as being an AD. And you can work for one day and pay all of your monthly bills, which gave me the time to take meetings and write scripts and do all the things that I needed to do to sort of start a career as a director. And as we all know, it's about staying at the table, to use gambling terms, whatever you can do, you like, bills and food on the table whilst you become a director, because the first 5 or 6 short films you do, you're going to be paying for. The first feature, you're probably going to be paying to do, because, and like me, I don't know if you're like me, but you end up constantly reaching into your wallet. On Thieves Highway, for example, I paid for the Los Angeles sequence, which is 2 days of solid filming out in Santa Clarita, because we had financing continually on the set of this one. So I paid for that, and we shot. We had the actor fly in and trucks. That gets quick, really, really quick. So even now, you're figuring out how to make the best film, but still come out of it at the end with any kind of a profit. Not that that's not your reason for doing it. It is your reason for doing it, because we need to survive and we have kids that need to eat. So I realized that stunt work was a far wiser way to get where I wanted to go. I'd always been very physical, and I'd had a grounding in that through Vic anyway. So I defaulted and took I off-shot and took a different route and got my SAG card and started training really, really hard and diligently, because you have to train. You can't accept a stunt job, be realizing, oh shit, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing here, because either you will get hurt, or worst case scenario, you'll hurt someone else or cause someone else. So you train every day, and you treat it like a full-time job. When you're not on set, you're off driving or doing martial arts training or climbing or rigging or high full stuff. These are all things that you're expected to turn up, put your gear on, and do the gag and go home and not get hurt. They don't want you getting hurt. No one wants to see blood on set. They're not real blood.
Yeah.
So, you have to take it on very, very seriously, and I enjoyed it. I loved it. I liked it an immense amount. There's a certain amount of adventure. Men need adventure, I think.
Back in the day when you were first starting out, and I might be wrong about this, but I've got a vague recollection from an interview I saw of quite a
I probably lied in it. I used to lie a lot in interviews. It was more interesting.
No. This is not an interview with you. This is an interview I saw with another stuntman. It was on like BBC Two or something in the late 80s. I know this individual's no longer with us. He's one of the stuntmen that was in the Long Good Friday. Very, very much the jobbing British stunt guy. And I remember in that interview, he said at the time, if you go into stunts, it was something like, this is in the 70s, this would have been, there were 5 disciplines. There was cars, the physical fighting, doing the high falls, firearms, and something else. I can't remember what the
horses probably back then.
Probably horse riding. Yeah, horse wrangling. Now, of course, with all the green screen stuff and wire work that you've got, there's a whole load of extra elements now. Is it still done the same way? Do people sort of have the card checklist, or is everybody expected to know everything? Which is quite a tall order. Really.
It's a complicated answer. I'll do it as efficiently as possible. In the UK, they have the stunt register, which is a really smart, intelligent way of doing it, where you have to, I think it's 8 qualifications of 32, and you have to be of a certain level. Someone from the register who is a specialist in that particular qualification comes out and makes sure that you are not bullshitting and you are actually of the qualification you are. You then become a provisional member and you work your way up. And it's safety, as I say, not only of you, but of the other people on set, of the business as a whole. It's such a horrible thing when anything goes wrong, and it sets everyone back years and years. And it's very, very smart and intelligent. In the US, you have to get your SAG card, which is an acting union, and then you can say I'm a stuntman, and that's as much as you need. Now that means that any Tom, Dick, and Harry can turn up, get their SAG card via being an extra, and say I'm a stuntman, and that's it. Now, because of that, because that is such an easy thing to claim of yourself, it becomes very rigid. People become very rigid in whom they hire, who they trust, and you'll see the same group of stunt guys working with the same coordinator, same producer, same director over and over again, and they're very wary to bring new guys in, simply because it's very difficult to check people out. Now there are certain places you go, and stunt schools and things like that. Tony Snegoff runs one, and some other guys. Rick Seaman had the driving school, and there's various things like that. And people, word of mouth will get, oh my God, this guy is incredible. And then there's other martial arts academies near here where I am in the Valley, where a lot of stunt guys train, and some will turn up, see him do some aerial work, some backflips, and some really, really interesting tricking, and they'll go, this guy's good. He's come from nowhere. He's done, YouTube videos. Let's get him in. Let's put him in. And he's the next new thing. And suddenly this kid that was making YouTube videos is making, $1,000 a day as a union stunt guy. So there's something beautiful about the American way, but something terribly concerning about it as well. But that's okay. That is what it is. It's not. It's never going to fix itself. It is what it is. But it is up to you to train and cross-train and get out there. And if you're a jobbing stunt guy who's trying to make his name, you got to get out there and get seen. Put together a good. That's good, but people look at the role, and I've had the issue a couple of times. I've been doing second units where my guys were not available, and I've put the word out, said I need a bike guy, and you get someone turn up, and he's shown me footage of him riding a motorcycle. You get to set, and he's not as good as he says he is, and you're in a predicament then. You've got producer looking at you, director looking at you. I'm like, this guy told me he could ride. I'm sorry, you're the one that gets blamed for it. You should have done the research ahead of time. So you have. It becomes complex. You got to be really astute and know who's good and know who's out there and what they're doing and who's capable of being trusted. And you have a list, and you have a couple of other coordinators who you really trust, and you call them. But the temptation with young or out of work or older guys is, I can do it. I'll do anything. I'll get there and I'll do it. But they can't, and they can't do it, and then you get in trouble. You have issues. So it takes a lot of due diligence. There are certain Facebook pages that are set up to it where people will say, is this guy good? And other people will say, yeah, we've seen him on set. He's done that. He's good. And you can maybe do a little bit of checking and research. But yes, to answer the other part of your question, has it changed a lot? When I started out, the first really pro gig I did as a stuntman was the Arnold Schwarzenegger Total Recall, which was 89 in Mexico City. And I would have been 17 at that point. And all of the stunt guys on that, Gary Baxley and Billy Lucas and those guys, a lot of those guys had come from heavy TV work like Dukes of Hazzard, Fall Guy, Charlie's Angels. They were very, very good with cars. They were good with horses. They replaced all the horsemen, because that was the era that came immediately before them. So these guys were all predominantly car guys. They were very, very good behind the wheel of a car, you know, extraordinarily safe, and they practiced all the time, and they had done just the most hellacious stunts with very minimal roll cages. It was a really cool era of stunt guys to learn from and listen to and talk to. That was replaced a decade or so later by guys that did really heavy martial arts and were very, very good at martial arts. In that era, there were a minimal group of martial arts guys that you called it, had martial arts scenes, and they were very good. Now it's the other way around. Now you have just enormous amounts of martial arts guys, trickers, physical guys that really are not very good behind the wheel or in a car, because it's less cool for that now.
Which scenes on Total Recall did you work on?
I did a bunch of the stuff with the soldiers. They put me way at the back because they all knew I was pretty green, coming through the wall, shooting the guns. But the second from last shot of the movie, as the glass is all imploded inwards and everyone walks forward, you actually see me with the most ridiculous hat on, looking up at the air as it comes in through the windows.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I was in there somewhere. The girl
I've watched it very recently, and I also was very lucky. I got to see Total Recall. You would know this cinema. I got to see it on the opening night at the Odeon Marble Arch, which back then was the biggest screen in London on a 70mm print. You never get to see films in 70mm.
That's amazing. I know the Odeon Leicester Square. I'm not sure about the Marble Arch one, but
the Odeon Marble Arch was bigger than the Odeon Leicester Square. It was right opposite the Marble Arch. It was the first cinema.
Fantastic.
It was the first cinema to show Aliens. They did a midnight screening of Aliens there. This is back in the days when films would stay in the West End for a few weeks before they would open in London. And unbeknownst to me, and I was there, all the people from all the cinemas in London all went to see it. The managers all took all their ushers to go. And this was a deliberate ploy on behalf of James Cameron, because the British crew were going around saying the film was going to be rubbish because they all hated him. And he and Gail Ann Hurd organised that screening, and we all went, knowing that everybody that worked at the cinemas was going to watch it and then tell everybody how great the film was. And that was exactly what happened. And him and Gail were sitting 5 rows behind me. I had no idea, but it was an amazing screen. It was the biggest screen in the UK back then.
That's brilliant.
Anywhere bigger.
I think I had James Cameron situation. I was working as a stuntman on Avatar, and I was only on it for a few weeks. My dear friend Garrett Warren, who's now directing a film, was the second unit director and stunt coordinator. But I was working on that one, and Cameron took the whole crew to the movie theaters, and we saw 100 on the big screen at the in Magic. I think it's the Magic Johnson movie theater in Copley. I'm not sure which one, but the whole crew just, we're not going to go to work today. Let's everyone go and see. We're all going to go see this movie we bought out the theater and watch 300, which was pretty cool.
That's excellent. Did you play one of the soldiers in Avatar with the action sequence?
I was just a soldier in that one, yeah. And I also did a little bit of green screen, sort of like, holding the foam rubber and stuff. But yeah, at the end where I'm being dragged in after I've been. I think Garrett's been shot, and I'm dragging him by the back of his armor into the side of one of the whatever it is, transporters or something.
Right.
It was a whole bunch of shooting guns with green screen around us.
I mean, I listen. That movie divides people. I've always said from day one, I absolutely love that film. I just think it's in terms of pure cinema. This is the kind of it was that Star Wars feeling again. It was like I was seeing something different. I really liked it. Second one, it was okay, but I was quite happy to go back to that world. And I've already got tickets to go and see the third one at the Empire Leicester Square, my favourite cinema, on the 20th. I'm taking my goddaughter to see it. So
I worked a little bit on the second one, very briefly, the water one down at the studio.
Yeah,
but didn't work on the third one or the fourth or the fifth. There's a Paul Gauguin as an artist, and he said to be an artist you have to be either a plagiarist or a revolutionary. And I think James Cameron is the epitome of a revolutionary. Everything he does, creates a new path, a new way of looking at what we do, and it's pretty amazing. Whatever you think of his films now, you look at films in the grand, 50 years time, they're still going to be looked at as films that changed the course, the direction of cinema, the way people think about it.
Absolutely, without now. I'm looking forward to the third one. I mean, you directed quite a few movies before this one, but the film that made us cross paths and have a conversation was Accident Man. There's several people that I know in this film. I think Dan Stiles worked on this one with you as well.
Yes.
Who's a good friend of mine. He's also been on this channel. Dan and I go way back. He was actually we shared a flat together for the best part of a year in North London at one stage.
It's been a pleasure to watch him grow and learn and exponentially become so much better. Dan's going to be directing soon. He'll direct something and he'll make a very, very good movie of it because he's been watching quietly what everyone else is doing and beaving away and saying yeah, and everyone else said no. And I have only respect for Dan. I think he's great, and I have a lot of respect for people who move slowly and watch what's going on and plan carefully and build and grow and that's what he does. It's very easy to wake up morning and say I want to be a director, or I want to do this, I want to do that, and without having learned the craft as diligently as Dan has. But yeah, he's good.
Yeah, I've recommended so many people to his ID drama course.
He did some phenomenal second unit for me on a really difficult film called One Ranger that I directed. We had something in the region of 10 days to make the whole film, and then 3 days shoot in England, and then 3 days in the US. Just made no sense at all, and there was no money on it. Didn't arrive till the first day of filming. The poor producers had, the local Essex producers had to pay out of their own money to keep the thing going. And when the film money did arrive, of course, things being paid for, and it was just a really difficult film. And for me, the best scene in the movie, the best fight scene, which was between Logue and Jess Loudon and Thomas Jane, was the fight where Jess gets his eye poked out, and it was all Dan and Rob Polgar shooting. I had to let them go off and do it as a second unit because we had so much going on and so much film to make, so little money and so little time. So As far as I'm concerned, he's terrific. He saved my bacon in that and did a really outstanding job of shooting that fight scene. And when I read reviews on it, the film's okay, but that fight scene, is so good. I'm like, yep, go Dan. He's good. He's good.
So this Accident Man was the first time that you worked with Scott Adkins, and that became a regular collaboration. Tell us about that a bit, because I think these kinds of professional relationships in our industry, they're rare, but when they happen and you have that kind of fluidity with somebody, Jason Flemyng and I have it. We work together. I mean, we're family, but we work together extremely closely. 9 times now. He was in my last film, which I'll have to send you a link to watch. But you've worked with Scott, I think, more than any other director, and you've also done the film Avengement, which we'll also talk about in a second, which for my money has got Scott's best fight scene in it. And I saw that Dan worked on that with you, and I remember saying that to Dan, that the fight scene in that pub is just incredible. And when he told me the amount of time that you had to shoot that, I was like, Jesus, really? That looks like a sequence that was shot over a week, and I think it was done in a day or a day and a half or something. But to talk to us about how you and Scott first met and your relationship going forward.
Scott and I have known each other a while. When I was making my first film, which was called Pit Fighter, which is a tiny little film that we did, an amateur film, a producer called Dan Frisch introduced me to Isaac Florentine, who I really liked and I found extraordinarily forthcoming and generous. Isaac is a is a martial arts instructor. He was on the Israeli karate team, and thinks of himself primarily as a martial arts instructor. But as and I did a lot of martial arts. It was something I loved doing as a young man. I really enjoyed it. I think every young man should get his face punched a few times. It helps you develop as a human being. And so Isaac sat me down and said, I've got this young guy who's worked for me a bunch of times. You should definitely give him a break. His name's Scott Adkins, out here hustling right now on a tourist visa. And so I had Scott come in and I invented a part for him, which he played. He great. We sort of chatted and went out for coffee and kind of liked him because we were young people doing something that everyone else seemed to be really quite old, doing all the other, David Carradine and all these other martial artists that were working, and Martin Cove, they weren't really martial artists. They were old. They weren't really into what was going on. They were doing it as a form of pornography to make money because they couldn't get hired other movies. Scott worships the genre, Jackie Chan and the Chinese way of doing things in martial arts. And for him, it was never about, we can't get a normal film done, we're going to do martial arts. It's martial arts were the pinnacle of what he's wanted to do. And still, I think, really honestly, that's his goal in is to make the great martial arts movies, not the others. They're a byproduct of that. And so it was interesting chatting with him. And so all the way back from Pit Fighter, which is 2005, I think, 20 years or something. We've been chatting. Osha Diamond had tried to get us with a film with Steven Seagal. And so he reintroduced me to Scott, and we talked, and neither of us really wanted to work with Seagal. Scott had some issues with the producer on it as well. And so I came up with a script to Savage Dog, which is a film we did here with Bleiberg. It was very low budget. Scott said, okay, we'll do this. It was one of those shoots that's, raped by really, really bad issues with financing and time and all that sort of thing. But the film, in my opinion, but the first cut of the film was dreadful. And Scott saw that and said, I was thinking of doing Accident Man with you, but I'm afraid this film may be the worst film I've ever done, Savage Dog. And I was like, okay, that's fine. What will be. It's okay. I enjoy working with you. I don't think it's the worst film we've done, but we'll agree to disagree on that. And paths separate ways. Savage Dog turned out to be very, very good for both of us. Whatever you say about the film, people loved the shit out of it. It was extraordinarily popular at the time and really, really good business. It's a scrappy, kind of tattered, rough-looking film, but all of the things that work in an indie action movie, it's very, very violent, and everyone's doing their best to do well in it. And then he called me up out of the blue and said, actually, maybe I have a film for you. I think every single other director turned Accident Man down, actual truth of what had happened, and he had financing. And so he came back and said, yeah, on reevaluation, I don't mind Savage Dog. It's not as bad as I thought it was. I've got this other thing in the UK to do. Do you want to come out and do it? So I flew out, and he was on my back for the first 3 or 4 days, and making sure that he felt it was going his way. And at some point, he just sort of relaxed and started focusing on the acting. And that was the first time we really worked together in unison. And Savage Dog, we butted heads through the entire shoot. And so on this one, it was a little less fraught with disagreements. And I thought it was quite a fun film. It was very, very well cast. Scott focused on action. He wanted to do the action, wanted to keep a very firm hold on that, and that was fine because there was enough to do in a short period of time with making sure the acting and performances were good and the story, tracked, which for me is more important than the fight sequences themselves. You prep fights ahead of time and you look at them, you sign off on them, and that's good. They're like putting Lego together. You going by an instructions that you've done previously in the gym with a camera. So for me, there's almost zero challenge to it. It's boring and I don't like it, which is a terrible thing to say. But all the creativity was done in that gym across town in the week before you shoot it. When you get to the set, it becomes very technical. It becomes a physical aspect of making sure that the hits resonate, the power looks like it's there, the kick looks like it's contact, and that's, you get a good stunt coordinator, good fight choreographer, and they enjoy that. They live for it, and it's great, and their attention is there. I have been intrigued by what's going on. Each take has to build on the last take, which means there's got to be something changing, some spark forming, you know, a line changing, a performance change. You can really do that with a fight scene. It becomes dangerous if you do that. So it's better left to a more technical mind that simply looking to recreate what happened in the gym, which everyone signed off on, you know, which I put my creative input into back there. It's better left to someone who has a very, very left brain. You know, the guys that can you know, do really good Meccano and really good Lego. Those guys.
Sure.
That's their world.
How
that's not to take away from it at all. But
how was working with Ray Stevenson? Because
he was extraordinarily intimidating for everyone. It's all an act, I could see that, but he liked to keep everyone on their toes. He said to me, I'm going to one take. I'm not going to rehearse with everyone. I'm going to come out of you rehearse with someone else, get the rest of the actors where they need to be. You call me, I'm going to walk in, I'm going to do the take, and then I'm going to walk off back to my trailer, and you better have it. And if you have to do a second take, you need to explain to me why, because we've had this conversation. I thought that was pretty awesome. I loved it. I thought that was great. And the other actors, when I explained it to them, they're like, oh my God, we've got to tell you. It's like, yes, you've absolutely got to be on your game. And it, you know, listen, I think it was a game that he played so that everyone felt a little intimidated by him because of the character he was playing in the film. But it was awesome. He got through his stuff really quickly. And we had one issue where we're doing his close-up. So eyes, he's got full intensity going in the bar, and the poor focus puller, the guy that's holding onto the lens, his phone went off in his back pocket. And this is the worst thing you can have on a set, absolutely the worst thing you can ever have if you're a focus puller or a man with a camera team. And of course, Ray didn't break concentration, he just looked at the camera and said, well, you better fucking answer it, didn't you? And the guy turned around, answered it very intimidated. That was the only time we did more than a take with him, right. And I loved it. I thought it was great. I talked with him a lot. You know, he's not a tough guy, an intimidating guy. And in reality, he's a poet, a painter, and a lovely human being who's extraordinarily insecure about a lot of things in the world and about life. And that meant there was a little bit of alcohol involved in the equation. And but I really, really enjoyed him. And, a great artist gone. It's a terribly, terribly tragic shame, you know. I worked with him on so I worked with him in New Mexico, and I know his stunt double, his American stunt double, Rob Mars, who's been in Debt Collectors and has worked with me a lot. So Rob, in a good word, when we were initially putting Accident Man together for me, so I must thank him as well. You know, the way that this works, this sort of strange vein network of subsidiary contacts and 6 degrees of separation, where when you try and get an actor who's nervous of working on what's ostensibly a martial arts movie, career death for a real actor, low budget martial arts movie, that is, now of course they've become more mainstream, but they're very, very concerned. They do their due diligence on the director and the team involved, and thankfully Rob put in a good word, and we managed to sort of shoehorn him into coming to London, from Ibiza where he lived and doing the part. But yes,
so another actor that we've both collaborated with, and in fact I've just finished writing a script for him, tailor-made, is Craig Fairbrass, and he's another presence on set who doesn't put up with nonsense, but Craig and I get on really well. And I think the film that we've just finished, I think it will probably go into production sometime next year with a bit of luck. How did you find working with Craig?
I'm an enormous fan of Craig Fairbrass. I think the dude is so incredibly talented, so underrated, minimized because of I'm going to say it, because of the most disgusting kind of English trait imaginable, which is snobbery. I cannot deal with it. I in a very blue collar household. My grandfather was a blacksmith, a farrier, and there was always this terrible kind of, well, he's a real gentleman. He's a lady for you. And it's just all horseshit. You're a hardworking guy that can do this incredible talent. My grandfather made shoes, and out of raw iron, out of steel, and yet he still looked up to these pompous buffoons who had inherited their money, inbred, degenerates. And to this day, I read stuff on Avengement where they say, I can't believe they put Fairbrass in there because of his, I guess because of EastEnders or whatever it is. I will say here and now, he acts the socks off so many of these so-called theatre actors that people think are so wonderful and so great, to do what he does. We did 12 pages one day, 12 pages of hard, difficult dialogue. Avengement was very, very difficult. These are not normal sentences. The way the script is written is not how people talk anywhere, It's difficult stuff, and it takes great talent as an actor to make that work, and to do 12 pages in a day, make it look authentic and not like you're acting, is one of the greatest skills a man. And I will defy anyone who says anything differently about it. I look for actors who worked on EastEnders. You would have to do on EastEnders. You've got to come in. If you aren't regular on that show, you have to know your lines off page, and you off book, and you take whatever they do, which is a massive workload, and you go out there and you do it. You get one shot at it, or they'll can you, and they'll send you home, and then you were the actor that got canned from EastEnders because you didn't know your lines. And all these guys that talk a great talk about acting, and the English are really good at it. They say, they talk about them like they could do this job because these actors are playing people that are based on people they know that this person could also do that. If he feels that he could be taken out of his living room and put on the set of EastEnders, and he'd do a better job. Just like UFC fans watching think that they could get in there and do a better job. That's the skill of the entertainment. What they do is extraordinarily tough. It's really, really tough. Yeah. We had Kirsten Waring on this as well, who's also on EastEnders, and these guys are phenomenal, really, really good actors. And they play lower class people. They're not posh. They weren't educated at Harrow or Eton, and they play real people. And it doesn't make any fucking difference at all what the accent is. It is acting. It's really, really tough. One of the best. Sorry, brother. Keep talking.
One of the best actresses I ever worked with. She's in my film The Journey. Is Lindsey Coulson, who you may recall played Bianca's mother for quite a long time, on and off. And I saw her do one scene. I wasn't a regular watcher of EastEnders, but I just happened to turn on one scene where they have a mother and daughter moment where the daughter is confessing to being the lover of the mother's boyfriend. It's a very, very powerful and difficult scene to play. And I watched her play that scene, and the next day I wrote to her agent, and I happened to be directing a play in London at the time, and it was going up the following week. And I just said, I've just seen your scene. I've got to work with you. Come and see my play next week and let's talk. And she did. She came down to see my play, and we had a lovely conversation. And it took many years. I think it took 10 years before we worked together. But I would always go and support her if she was on stage or something like that. And that's a great awesome way.
Story. And I love that. I love when you finally get them like that. That's what it is to be a director more than anything else. Is to put the cast together, to watch people, to find people who you want to work with, and somehow make it work. Rachel Wilde. I'll add. She was EastEnders as well. I've done, I think, 3 films with her, and just phenomenal. She was blacklisted in the UK because she got mad at someone and threw a glass at them. Motherfucker, that's the reason to hire a person, because they're passionate. I love it. She has been phenomenal. It's just, and it's force of nature on set as well. It's. I think the reason I've been in America for 30 years. I am a citizen here with a passport, and I believe one of the things I like is that it doesn't matter where you come from here. If you come from the South, if you come from the dirt poor, worst part of, the poorest part of the least educated part of the nation, if you still have the ability to make it big, they will respect you for the act of making it where you've made it, and that is not for where you came from. And it's a mistake that England has, the English have this weird respect for someone because of where they were born, or the second name, or what school they went to. It's what you make of yourself, and this for me is the great distinguisher. Craig is phenomenal. He is a force of nature. He made Avengement, as far as I'm concerned, because he plays the brother, the main antagonist, and he is furiously powerful in his performance and blows everyone else. You can't do anything but to watch him. There's a scene where he tells a lie in the movie. Up to that point, he's been absolutely honest, and all he said, and he looks at the camera with absolutely dead eyes that don't blink, incredible intensity. And there's one scene in the movie where he tells a lie to his brother, and he looks away, and his eye flicks, and then he looks back up at Scott, and you realize, because his character in the movie couldn't tell a lie, this beautifully subtle bit of acting comes in there, and it's amazing. It's really, really good. And he's telling a lie. He's just done. He told a lie to his own brother.
He's a really brilliant actor. He really understands the craft. Craig, really intelligent guy, and he really knows dialogue and knows how to play it, and
he knows these people as well, Lance. Interesting happened. We were shooting the pub in Avengement is two pubs. It's the exterior pub, which is one city block away from where we shot the interior of the pub, and so these were two pubs on one block in Limehouse, which was a particularly rough part of London. Now it's like everywhere else is gentrified, but it was a particularly rough kind of East End nasty part of that, and all that kind of stuff, and whorehouses and things. So the pubs now, these pubs have been in competition for over 100 years. Hate each other. Now I don't think anyone even runs the pub that we filmed the interiors at. It's a defunct building, like a lot of freehold pubs in the UK. They hated each other. So when we were filming the exteriors, I was talking with the guys that ran it. We said, we don't talk about those people anymore. And they're real rough sort of East End, characters, interesting types. I love them. I love listening to them. The patois, the turn of phrase, it work itself into a script somewhere down the line. And he's in the movie. And so we got Scott Adkins. I've never heard of him. We got Nick Moran. He was the lead in Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. Never heard of him. Never in the movie. So I'm running through the cast thinking, what? I said, we've got Craig Fairbrass, and everyone in the room went quiet, drinking, and they all knew his uncle, or his uncles, who were at one time the equivalent of the Cray twins in that part of London, and so I went to Craig and said, I have no idea, quite well known around here, and he laughed. He said, there was a point growing up in his childhood where if he was walking on a sidewalk, people would step out of the way to let him by just because of his uncles, so it's interesting. He really is in that world and knows it very well and is able to bring that to it. He's an actor. It's not him in real life. In real life, he has all the insecurities and concerns of it. That tough guy is something he's modeled on the people he grew up around, and I wish people understood that, but they get confused. You're a tough guy. All he's doing is coming in and playing himself. You can't do that. Learn 12 pages of dialogue and do it the same time and your marks. That's not what a job does. You're confused. What he does is an artist, a craftsman of the highest level. And this is a confusion that annoys me. But I've got caught in that subject, and it's not interesting for anyone.
No. That's all right. I mean, you also worked with Thomas Turgoose in this, who'd not long come off working with Shane Meadows, I think, when you did this film.
Thomas was hired at 10 p.m. He lives in Cleethorpes, and he drove through the night to get to work at 8 a.m. the next morning, learning his lines. He had his pajamas on when he got to set, which is actually was a onesie with teddy bears on it, which I'm not sure. He seemed to not be bothered about that and did the rehearsals wearing that. But he was, off book by 8:15 a.m. and phenomenal, really good, absolutely in the moment. You could look in his eyes on that lens, and it's pure honesty that you're seeing. Phenomenal actor, I hope to work with him, to work with Craig again. You know, you try each time you make a movie, you try and figure out how you can make it work to hire all of your friends. I've been very good at it. I have a fabulous, you know, company of actors who I adore working with. Tim Murphy, Louis Mandalore, Daniel Bernhardt, you know, it's, you know, that turn up. If you watch my films, you'll see these guys turn up and they make me look good. They are great actors, really good at what they do, consummate professionals, wonderful people to be around. And I owe my career and my bank account to these guys.
Well, before we move on to Thieves Highway, I think the first time you got to work with Aaron Eckhart was on when you directed Chief of Station. Was that right?
Yes.
So talk to us about casting him and the first time you met him.
Chief of Station, a non-action movie about a troubled man trying to find out what happened to his wife. It was starring Alec Baldwin. Did 6 or 8 meetings with Alec Baldwin, got him attached. We were setting up with him. The script was written around him, which meant at the time he doesn't touch a firearm, no action because he's slightly older, and you know, it was very cerebral. Sort of a, you know, could have been played by Michael Caine in another era of fifth column, you know, kind of spies, intrigue stuff. And so we're prepping that film, putting it together, and then as we're drawing closer to our start of principal photography, which can't be changed, the announcement of when the trial is going to take place for the Rust tragedy happened, and we, you know, the insurers realized it was, you know, even if it's only 1 day deposition, that's basically a week of filming that he would lose on a whatever it was 5-week shoot, and that was too much. So they simply said we can't insure the film if you have Alec Baldwin in the lead. So we lost him 10 days before the start of photography. I think Aaron Eckhart came on 8 days before the start of principal photography. I looked at the script and go, oh, we can make this an action movie now. Because as I had been scouting, I'd seen all these amazing locations that had worked really, really well for action. This incredible barge would be great for a fight scene. This amazing aluminum plant that was a Cold War remnant where they used to make nuclear submarines during the Cold War, was falling down and decrepit, which would be a great place for a car chase. And it was like, I think I should do a little bit of rewriting. And so I rewrote like a frantic banshee and worked 24/7 rewriting it with the AD, the stunt coordinator, the assistant producer, had everyone in the office throwing ideas and backwards and forwards, saying, what happens if we do this? It was an amazingly exciting period. And these Hungarian crew had anything like it. They're like, you're asking me for my advice? I said, you have done 40 movies as a stuntman. What's the best place that you've done a car stunt here? What was the best stunt you ever did? And who is the best guy to do it? And they were, well, we have this one guy that can jump a car backwards. You know, his gag is driving the car backwards for a pipe ramp and doing a stunt where the car goes completely reverse. And we have another guy that can jump, you know, these cars 100 feet in the air, you know. And so we started to build the action sequences around what Levy, the stunt coordinator, had done before and knew he could do efficiently and safely and look cool. So I'd look at the videotape of where it had been done in a Hungarian movie and like, yeah, absolutely, let's bring that in, let's put that in, let's have this and let's do that. And so the film came together in the most wonderful organic fashion, and I think it's a really, really good film and really exciting. Aaron was unbelievable to work with and loved the action. He's one of the best gun guys in Hollywood. Taron Butler, who's a friend of mine who trains them, he has the Taron Tactical Academy, says Aaron is literally one of the best out there. Martial arts wise, he trains twice a day with jiu-jitsu and is phenomenal. And as a car driver, we did one scene while I was in the back of the car with a camera, and Aaron was driving so fast. I think he was driving fast, particularly to get a ride, you know, to get to the point where I would call quit. I couldn't because I was holding the camera. It wasn't anything to being brave, but we went faster and faster and faster. I think the fact that we got it on like the 3rd or 4th take was lucky because, you know, but anyway, Aaron is the real deal as far as I'm concerned. And so any opportunity I have to work with him again, I always try and sort of look at that. And Thieves Highway was an example. And I knew that it's down to earth kind of dirt. You know, Aaron raises cattle in Montana on a 1.5 mile of river. lives a very stoic lifestyle with a trailer with a gas a fire burning stove, and he likes that. He understands the way the working class man thinks, and for me, Thieves Highway was this project that shone the light on this plight that's been ravaging the Midwest, which is cattle rustling. It's really, really, really a cruel crime that just leaves the victim absolutely shattered. You take away his livelihood. A cow isn't worth $4,000 to a farmer. The cow is the end result of 10 years of investment. What may have cost $10,000, he's fed it and kept it and dealt with it, and it's an investment. And these hooligans, these meth heads, these and even like Arthur, systematically professional criminals are going in. They take a cow, they take it to they go in at nighttime at 3 a.m, take the fence down, put the cow in the back of a truck, take it to a no brand state, and they can sell it for the exact value of what that cow is worth. And there's no repercussion. You steal a tractor or a car, that's only ever a stolen vehicle. The VIN number is coded as stolen. You can only ever sell it on the black market and get to the dollar of its worth. So you have these professional criminals who are taking off these farmers, and their only livelihood are these cows. The investment it wrecks them, it destroys them. They never grow again. The farms are closed. It's a difficult enough lifestyle as it is that they've chosen that they do, and they're destroyed systematically, and there's no light on it. And so I knew that my passion would carry across, and so I talked to Aaron about it, and sure enough, it was something he was very, very familiar with. Raising cows in Montana, where you're right out there in the middle of nowhere. You still have drug dealers, you still have the meth problem, you still have this undercurrent of bad. It happens. It's something for some reason people don't talk about. Maybe it's less glamorous than crimes that people are enjoying talking about at the moment. But it's a plight. And so the film obviously is an action movie to a degree, and there's a certain amount of hyperbole in the way that I've told the story to make it interesting to me, make the characters more interesting. But it's sometimes found. But the amount of research I did on this, it really is really thing that people should know more about. So anyway, that was why I thought he was good for this one. But we will return to pure action fare with Aaron very near future, because that's also what he does extraordinarily well. You put a gun in his hand, there's no one quite like it.
Yeah, because this is written by Travis Mills. I think there were two writers on it, but I'm guessing it probably started out as Travis's baby, as I know he's a big Western guy.
JD, I think, was the guy
Pepper.
I think he was the guy that had done some of this, was an Arizona stock detective, and brought the initial idea to Travis. Travis is a film buff like me. Travis was my producer on the Pendragon Chronicles that I did, the TV show. So we worked together for 5 months through Hungary and Italy on that TV show. And he's a film buff. He loves Ford and Boudica, Port, and we talk about the classic era of filmmaking. And for us, this film was a throwback to those kind of pictures. And he took this spark of inspiration from J.D. Pepper, which was, and I may be paraphrasing some of this, would be a better one to talk about it, and made a script that I felt had a rawness to it, an originality to it that made me excited. I like it. I like anything that doesn't feel like something I've done before, but more importantly, doesn't feel like it's pulled from the group consciousness. Copies, Wick,
Sure.
The Matrix. Every other film I get is a rip-off. Every other script, I apologize, is a rip-off of John Wick, of some, assassins. And I'm like, guys, have any of you ever met a real assassin? Because these guys with the black suits and the good looks and all the modern guns, and they have lights in it with all the guns lined up. That's not what an assassin is. An assassin is a disgusting ex-con who has a broken gun that he's bought in a bad part of town that sneakily walks into a kitchen, a bedroom window. And assassin is an awful, unglamorous thing. If you do any research on it, it's not anything like, I don't know where this cinematic cliche has come from, because it's not like any assassin that's ever born, maybe if you go back to the Second World War and you look in some of the, the gentleman types that came up SOE, maybe you'd have something that was, but those I don't class as an assassin. Those were, so when I get a script like Highway was original, it feels different. It feels like something that not everyone is doing, and certainly in this case dealt with a subject matter none had touched really, maybe Yellowstone, and I saw that after the fact because I tried to keep away from, I tried to immerse myself in documentaries and fish real cattle thievery as opposed to watching other people's artwork. But afterwards I saw that they had a similar subplot at some point about rustling, which is good. It brings awareness to, very different to my movie, but it's something that's not consciousness as a whole. The other thing I think is there's this, and I mentioned this to you earlier, there's this overdose at the moment of movies that deal with the condition based upon the two coasts, the East Coast and the West Coast, where everyone's quite rich and narcissistic and concerned with themselves and where they are in the world, in a great entitlement. And that's not what the majority of America is. It's not what the majority of the world is. Most of us have jobs, honest jobs, where you go to work early in the morning, you've got to do something you don't particularly love doing, make a living to pay, to keep up with your bills, not to get ahead of them. And your primary focus in life, not wondering if you're going to fall in love with something called materialists to turn it off. These films are just awful. They don't talk to anyone about anything that's actually.
That's quite an opera.
This film for me really dealt with something that is important and going on with a group of people who are struggling to pay their bills. But bad guys, good guys, and literally, it's no longer about what you want to be; it's about what you have to be. Which I like, and I think that's something that talks to every man. Which is something I struggle with a lot of my movies.
With this film, like I said, when we watched the trailer the other day, my panel, and I no one knew we were going to watch it. I just whacked it on. Enzo, who I actually wanted him to pop on today, but I think he streamed until about 4:00 in the morning yesterday, so he's still asleep. He's from Texas, and the first thing he said when we sort of finished watching the trailer was he said, "This is a massive problem in Texas. These kind of crimes go on all the time. Most of them don't get reported." He has an uncle who's got some kind of ranch. It's around 400 acres. It's a huge size. And he says, policing their land is like really, really difficult. And then there's things going on with either immigrants being employed or also sometimes the cause of crime. You have all of that going back and forth. And he said it is almost this kind of world over the hill that people don't see. So he said it was great that your film was kind of set over the hill, so to speak.
Yeah.
Way out west in Texas where people aren't looking. This is what's going on. So
it's a terrible crime. It really is. It's usually perpetrated by someone that either worked on the ranch at one time or still works on the ranch. That's the awful nature of it. But yeah, you have hundreds, many cases, thousands of square miles of farmland policed by one stop detective. And these guys are great. If you ever get a chance, go online and look at them. Aaron is the epitome. These are tough, leathery guys that carry 45 hand-tooled leather holsters, and they've got their whole life inside the truck with them, and they go out there on their own, risking their life, running the wire, at night, during the day, and then going to the stockyards as sales come through. They're also called brand inspectors, so they're inspecting the brands, to see what's stolen, what hasn't been, what's been rebranded. If people have what's called a running iron, which is a particular iron that you can then reshape brand to make it look like a different brand. It's really gnarly stuff. And you think, why don't you just put a digital chip in? But it's money and the distances they're talking about. And, they're living in many cases in the 1900s, like the 1800s, the 1900s, early 1900s. There's a rawness to it that's almost unbelievable when we think about, you know, how technologically advanced our private lives are in the city, and go out there, you're back at nature again, and you may find yourself up against 3 guys with guns, with trucks, whose life depends on those cows that they're stealing, and you're on your own.
Yeah.
And there's women doing it as well. There's women stop detectives. It's oh man, you know, and yet, you know, we're in a world where we've got ICE agents, you know, with, you know, hundreds of guys in state-of-the-art trucks with, you know, with M4s and body gear, rounding up, you know, one immigrant who's been here 20 years. And yet you've got something that's endemic and hurting people over here in the Midwest through several states. And there's one, you know, the government puts one guy on it, you know. So I could see where it's like, come on, you know, let's put the money into looking after the farmers, the blue collar workers for a change. Let's look after these people, you know. So hopefully the film raises some awareness to that. I'm not a social consciousness filmmaker. I make films for entertainment, but it's interesting when you have a little bit of that behind the story as well. And in this case, I hope it's there, you know.
Well, sometimes those two worlds collide, and when they do, and you can do both, you can make something that's entertaining and informative without kind of ramming a message down someone's throat. I think that's a good thing. You know, it's all about balance.
You've got this is the Sky Cinema trailer. The vertical one is really, really good. It's a little better. It's a little more authentic to the movie. I like the fact that the Sky one came out a little before that, because this one's a little more, the color correction is not quite there. They've used a whole bunch of overhead shots, which I think are also a bit corny. The vertical, the US release is really, really a really good trailer.
Before I take some questions from the chat, I just wanted to ask you a couple of production things about this, if I may, with my director's cap on, literally. From the point that you got this script in your hand to the point, and I'm going to ask a load of questions, to make your answers as short as you can, because I don't want us to run out of time.
Yeah, I do tend to overtalk. I apologize.
No, that's right. I have exactly the same problem when I'm being interviewed. Don't worry. But from the point that you were given the script to the point of day one of filming, how long was that?
I optioned the script in November 23.
Okay.
I paid cash for it against another amount of money. I had the script for a certain amount of time. Travis was very kind to me. We were filming in the summer of 24.
Okay. And
yes.
then
and
when you were filming,
and it was really difficult. It was quick to get it started, but we had one key financer fall out of the movie while we were filming the film. It was only a 12-day shoot, 2 weeks in southern Georgia. Extraordinarily humid. If you've ever been there, you can hardly walk without getting sweaty. You know, it's very difficult shoot for the cast and crew. We financier fall out, and they've only just a year later started making good on. You know, we paid about half the crew, and a lot of people were left holding the bag, which sucked. And it's awful to have that associated with the movie. It's awful to have that associated with hardworking people that came on, gave all for it. So I'm glad that's getting taken care of now. But it was tough. Right. It was a tough one of the toughest shoots I've ever been on in terms of the sheer distances, because, you know, you want to get a wide shot of horses with guys over there, you're going back a mile, which means you got to clear the trailers, trucks, tents, everything back. And, you know, on a lower budget film moving quickly, you've got these enormous distances where everyone's got to jump into a pickup truck to get to the next location. Just slows you down. It's just tough. Then we're dealing with horses, cows, trailers, which are dangerous inherently. Cows are dangerous. Got a lot of guys on horseback rounding them up that we have, and then guns. You know, as people, I like to make things practically. I like the actors to be able to react to the environment they're in. I loathe green screen, loathe shooting in an environment. I want them out. They got
it looks.
I want them to smell the cows, and the machine gun. The Thompson is a full auto 1943 machine gun.
Thompson's my next question. Was that Thompson in the script? Was there a page that said Thompson with extended magazine 1940, or did that?
No. In the script, it was a saw, because the guy's supposed to be an ex-soldier. The thing about a saw is it's a M9 minigun, mini-mize. It's a very difficult gun to have. If it's one of those. I felt it was one of those movie tropes. oh yeah, we've just got a bunch of machine guns. Machine guns are difficult to make. They're difficult to find. They're difficult to buy. They're difficult to steal in a little easier in the inner city with the Glock switch now. But in reality, it becomes something that's just a fake movie. So Thompson comes from one of the stock detectives at the very beginning of the movie. So we know where it's come from, why the guys have it, and why they have such an exotic firearm. We know where it's birth. Everything in the film I wanted to be explained and verifiable, and why it's there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the same Thompson that was in Hell Hath No Fury. It's the same Thompson that's been in 3 or 4 of my films.
What was the most difficult day that you had on the shoot, and why? Most challenging?
The most difficult day is the initial rustling scene where it's in a valley. This one here, in a valley, the cars all up against it. These guys are in position over the valley, looking down, and it's difficult because we have so many moving parts. We have 7 bad guys, or 5 bad guys. We have the cows. We have 3 trucks with trailers. We have the portable corral. Then we have the 2 trucks at the top with the 2 stock detectives with their guns, with the binoculars. Down there, we have everyone with their guns. We have all of the props that go along with the rustling. So you have the full outfit there, spread over a half mile of set, because we're over the shoulders of the stock detectives looking down at the guys down there. The trucks burn. All 3 trucks have to leave. There's a shootout down there where he has to jump down into a cove where he's being shot at. So we have special effects working, full auto fire, gunfire, animals. The only thing we don't have is children on the list of things you're not supposed to work with. And this is all one day. And of course, bus trailers and crew trailers, what we call base camp, has to be parked 1.5 miles away, because you don't want that in the shot. You don't want all the parking and all the white trailers. I don't know why they still make them white. They should make them camouflage. But you don't want all the white trailers associated with base camp getting in the background. And if you consider looking over the shoulders of 2 guys 1 mile away or half mile away from 5 guys down here, you do coverage, you're seeing literally 360 degrees from that location, which means that base camp is over the hill over there. And we're shooting in southern Georgia, so there's no hills. It's very, very flat. To hide them, they had to go just a really long way.
Business for that. You could start a side business, camouflage trailers. That's not a bad idea,
Exactly.
Camo nets for trailers.
What you run into on a movie when you have your crew so spread out like that is a communication issue, and communication is the most important thing on a film set, because you're communicating with base camp, telling them which actors to get ready, what wardrobe to wear, makeup to have, where the blood is on them, which stage of the script they're turning up, continuity wise. And if that starts to fall apart, you may find yourself in a scenario you're set up for a shot at a location with the cameras pointing at something, but the actor is an hour away because he's in the wrong wardrobe on the other side of the farm. So now you're wasting an hour or an hour, which on a low budget movie is an eternity. That can be that scene getting shot in the movie or not getting shot and put in the movie. So it becomes very stressful when you have such a huge location, and it really was. Everything on this was enormous. We shot on the exterior wise. The interiors were obviously pretty manageable. Talking with the actor, I like to spend half an hour with my lead actor in the morning, just talking about the day. I come in early, he comes in early. We talk about everything that's going to happen, what's going to go on. We answer his questions, concerns regarding the script for the day. He can go out there and be confident. He can be confident or she can be confident in front of the crew, in front of the camera, because they know the answers that rake every performer. If you don't do that, the actor turns up and he'll take you aside, and you'll have to have that conversation with them before the shot while everyone's waiting. So you do it in the morning on your own time. If you're dealing with a set that's this enormous, you have the luxury of doing that, because you've got to be over there making sure everyone's setting up their camera. So it becomes complex, and possibly if I was looking back on this as a low budget film that had to be shot in 12 days, I would maybe not have chosen to do one about cattle rustling. But I didn't know it was going to be a 12 day. That came fairly late in the financing. It was like, hey Jess, it's not 5 weeks anymore, 2 weeks. You still do it?
You've got 12 actual shooting days, but I'm guessing actors aside, you probably had some time on top of that for prep, and then you would have had unit travel days and a day off in the middle somewhere. Is that right?
Yes. What this one had, which was also complicated, is the producers had this genius idea of using the same crew from a film that shot immediately prior to this, which means that they wrapped on that one, and guys were starting. We started 3 days later, so a lot of the crew hadn't prepped, and they were exhausted, beat up. The film was a difficult one too, with Tommy Lee Jones and James Franco. Great director Damien Lichtenstein. They did good, but crew were exhausted, and in many cases had no idea what they were getting into. The prop master, was reading the script as we're on set,
Right.
And on this, like, the continuity issue, because we have the bad guy steal Aaron's gun early on in the movie. He steals the gun off one of the bad guys. So you have continuity, which was insane, just following 4 or 5 of the guns, which went from one person to another, because you can't then see suddenly where someone has the wrong gun, because everyone in the audience will go, just a minute, what's going on here? A film isn't shot in order, in chronological order. It's shot all over the place based on the availability, or the time of day you're filming at in many cases. So it was it had its challenges. On most movies have all those kind of challenges. The 12-day thing was a new thing for me. I'd never done one that short. I did a pilgrimage to Lone Pine Movie Museum, where they have a section on Bud Bodeker, who's one of my favorite directors, and he made a film called Ride Lonesome in 12 days, which I think is the only real justifiable classic that was done in that short an amount of time. So I drove up 4 hours to the museum with my wife, and we paid pilgrimage to the Bud Bodeker Ride Lonesome section. The museum is there because that's where they shot a lot of those westerns, the Alabama Hills, all the way back to sort of silent movies, and films like Gunga Din were shot in Alabama Hills. So they have this really good museum. You'd love it if you haven't been. You have to make your pilgrimage there when you come to LA. So we went there, and amazingly enough, they had a book on the making of Ride Lonesome that had been independently published that was available that week, and I bought it there as well and read it. And so I felt that I had got my head in shape for a 12-day shoot, but I will never do one again. I don't believe it's too much to risk when you make a film that quickly. It's too much that can go wrong, and without an actor like Aaron in the lead, who's just a beast and prepared as he is, you'd be really, really in a lot of trouble.
Did he come to the set very prepared, completely off book with all his lines and sort of a very
100%.
Sort of the character in his head?
I have never known him not be off book. He is the most prepared, one of the most prepared. I love actors; they're all very prepared, but he is extraordinarily prepared. It's part of his process. He gets up very early in the morning, works out, does his movie stuff, goes to bed early at night. He's a monk to this business, the craft, the art of performing, and it's so rare and it's so wonderful. It's so exciting to work with, and the ideas come and you're backwards and forwards, and man, it's good. It's there's no one quite like him that I've worked with. I enjoyed the collaboration immensely, and I'm extraordinarily fortunate to work with him. But also Scott Adkins was like that as well, by the way.
When and where can people see the movie?
A movie comes out in the US on the 12th. We're theatrical in New York and Los Angeles, the two cities that it's probably not the right demographic for, but that's okay. And then on the 16th, we go to VOD and streaming all over. So, I think before it was Hulu, and then and all of them, it was pretty straightforward. You do a search on your TV and your smart TV will take you to it. But yes, on the 16th of December, available all over on VOD.
So if it's dropping on Hulu, then in the UK that would be Disney, I think.
But it's on in the UK on Sky at the moment. It was released in the UK prior to the US, so it's on Sky. I don't know if that's free. I don't really know a lot about.
Is it on Sky? It's on Sky in the UK now.
Yes, as far as I know, it is. I've had a lot of comments back saying no one's publicised it because we're all waiting for the US dates to be made public, and it was initially February, got pushed back to now. We're going to the Tombstone, Arizona Film Festival in January, where we open the festival, which is going to be super exciting. I love that festival. It's a very small one, but for me, all the cowboy stuff, and it's on the street there, in Tombstone. It's a brilliant festival, and we're there. So if anyone's in Arizona at the end of January, they can come there, and I'll be there with a bunch of the cast and crew. going to try and get Aaron out to it. I'm not sure if he will or not. He's quite
well. I mean, it all depends on how much they've got going on at the time. But I imagine a Tombstone Film Festival is always looking for something that's kind of got cowboys or feels like a western.
Yeah,
and in the world, you know, Walter Hill. Every movie's a western, so this movie certainly qualifies.
Yeah, it's very much the Western mentality they're looking for. So it doesn't have to have been set in the 1800s, you know, with cowboy hats, things, but the mentality. And I think Thieves Highway is as close to the Western mentality as you can get. I mean, it really deals with one man, you know, against, you know, a high noon. You know, in fact, I had Sean Murray, my composer, use a lot of, you know, the basic rhythm out of the high noon, you know, tip tap tip tap tip tap theme as much as we could without it being copied, you know, in the theme Thieves Highway. One of my favorite themes ever. The song part is cool, but I'm talking about the, you know,
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
It speaks so much to the man on his own, absolutely deserted by all the, you know, people that were supposed to be around there looking after him, and he's got to take on the threat, you know, overwhelming threat. And for me, that's the Western mentality in the movie. And I think everyone gets, you know, working class, certainly, I don't know about other people, you get up every morning, you've got to take on the world, and it's lonely and it's hard and it's difficult. And that's why these films appeal, you know.
Well, before we wrap up or begin to wrap up, quick surprise for you. One of my regular co-hosts who's on my Tuesday show every week, who was one of the people that was surprised with your trailer, is here. Rebel Rose, thanks for popping on, Rebel. Do you just want to tell Jesse, tell Jesse what your initial reaction was to seeing the trailer as soon as I'd played it?
Oh my goodness, I was all in. As soon as it started, I loved the tone of it, the feel of it. And I'm from that part of the United States, so I know how big a problem it is. Like, I live right in between two ranches. I know how hard it is for these people to keep their herds together. And you're right, nobody talks about it. It's a forgotten crime. And I loved that trailer. Everything about it just hit for me. I can't wait to see it.
Thank you so much. I love that. That means the world to me. It means more than anything else. Whereabouts? What state, if you don't mind me asking? Are you
I'm from Arkansas. So.
Yeah. Then you know this.
Just in between.
Yeah. No, it's an endemic problem. I mean, and I don't understand. I think because it affects people that are not verbose. They're not out there. No, they're not on social media screaming. And these are hardworking, you know, men and women who run these farms. I mean, it's tough. They're of a different breed. They have, you know, to have that mindset to get up so early in the morning and do what they do and grind it out. They're not going to scream and shout and get histrionic. You know, they work through these issues, and so they need things like this movie. I think they need a spokesman, really. But I think the resources they're lacking. You know, I think we can shine up on that. Maybe, who knows? Maybe I'm romantic.
You're absolutely right. The industry hasn't changed for a century, and you know, they're fighting against people that a lot of times are using more technology than they're used to.
Absolutely. It means so much to me that you say that and that it resonated with you. It really does, you know. And I hope the film does too. I look forward to hearing what you think of the finished movie when you get a chance to see it.
Well, we'll be having a discussion about it on my channel as soon as it's dropped in the States, so that all my panelists will have been able to see it. And I'll send you the link for that, so you can have a butcher's at what everybody thought. But we'll do our best to plug it for you as well. Well, look, Jesse, thanks ever so much for coming on. And
very, very quickly, make sure you stay through the credits, because there's a section of credits and then the film continues, and they made it way too long. Through contracts, was all the producers wanted their names on it. That section of credits goes on way too long, and then there's a little bit of afterthought. It's so annoying, because really you only wanted it to go 5 seconds or so, and then you'd want the afterthought to come on. Unfortunately, it was on every single producer's name, and then you get the afterthought. So please stay. stay through the credits
mean,
and just take a look at that last piece.
We all know how many
get really small on the edge of your frame like it does when you're watching streaming movies. But anyway, thank you so much for having me, Lance. You're an asked great questions. Rebel, your words meant everything to me. I'll carry those with me for the next couple of days. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, Jesse, thanks so much. I hope to get you back on again at some point in the future. And, you know, because, I mean, God, we barely touched on half the things I wanted to talk about. So, and consider the channel open to you when you've got your next film out. You know, give me a shout and we'll get you on to talk about that one as well. So the
shark movie, hopefully, it's really turned out well.
Oh, really? You got a shark film coming out?
A shark movie?
I do, and I never thought I'd do it. I read the script. I had worked out my email, turning down the script, and it was pretty good. I drafted it in my head, and I started reading the script. I got about 5 pages in, and went, "Oh shit, I like this." And as I turned the pages, I changed the email to like, "Yeah, you'll have to pay me this much," and then I was like, "Oh god damn it, okay, I love this. Where do I sign on?" So it completely changed my idea of it through reading the script, and then they cast it. And the lead is Laura Morano. She's wonderful. She kicks ass, and Antonio Banderas was unbelievable. And I was so nervous. Everyone said he's really, really cool. Luckily, I was sort of prepared for it, but just came in, and man, another love affair was born. He's brilliant. So I think the film is going to take a lot of people by surprise, because it's not my usual kind of movie, but it is my usual kind of movie at the moment. And you're what I mean.
You're already shooting something else again in January, aren't you? Because you said you're off to.
I hope so. Knock on wood. The script went out to the cast yesterday. It was a film that had to replace another movie that fell apart, that was supposed to be shooting now, November, December, which kicked my ass, man, because I'd spent all the money thinking of a new movie coming in, because I'm completely, it's like, yeah, we've got a film. Let's blow it all, guys. And then, of course, the film pushed or fell apart because of a contractual issue. One of those really weird things that you don't, every movie has a new problem that you've never seen before. This was a really, really strange one. And it left me in this rather awkward situation. So I'm hoping that one goes in January or February, and it's a very, very good script. And the cast that went out to yesterday are my favorites. So, I knock on wood, man. It's getting a film made is like some kind of miracle, isn't it, Lance? It's
yeah.
My uncle worked on Gangs of New York, and he said at the moment where there was this huge fight between the producer and Scorsese threw a DVD player out the window, and it was screaming. He said, "You don't understand. I've spent 11 years of my life trying to make this fucking movie," and you realize that even Scorsese has trouble getting films made. 11 years to get a film made, and it's like he has trouble doing it. Jesse. It's tough, man. It's a tough game, and we have to remember that it's not easy. There's nothing is guaranteed. So hopefully it goes in January, February, and we'll have that one going. But it's been great talking to you, and lovely to meet you, Rebel. As you've just discovered, I can give you a 4-page answer on a really simple question, so I have to work on that before.
No, that's fine, mate. Your answers are always interesting. Well, look, thanks very much for coming in. Thanks for the people for watching. Bit like I said, an unusual time for me to stream, but I'm sure people will catch this on the replay, and no doubt we'll get Jesse back on again in the future. We are back on Monday at 8:00, where I've got Mark Anthony coming in to talk about his massive rave book, which is behind me, called 1988, which has got its book launch in London in a week and a half's time. So Mark, who put this together, which has got all the photos from that year, the flyers, absolutely everything is in here, interviews with all the key people. He's coming in to talk about his book on Monday. So another fantastic guest. That's going to be industry interview 138. So we're gonna hit 140 before the end of the year, because I've got another 2 after that the following week. So thanks very much, Jesse. Thanks to people watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll be back again on Monday. So we'll see you all then. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Join the crew at Outcast Creative. We're breaking Hang with Lance and the Outcast crew.